It had been 3 years since I married Clara when the coffee cup slipped from my hand. A dark, bitter stain spread across our marriage certificate, rendering the official document a soggy, illegible mess. With a sigh, I took it to the Civil Affairs Bureau for a replacement, a simple errand on an otherwise unremarkable Tuesday. I handed the warped paper to the staff member, who typed my details into her computer. After a few keystrokes, she looked up, her expression unreadable. "Sir, according to our system, your marital status is listed as single." I blinked, certain I'd misheard her. "That can't be right," I said, a nervous laugh escaping me. "My wife and I registered here 3 years ago. Clara and I—" The staff member typed again, her brow furrowed in concentration. When she looked up this time, her expression had shifted to one of strange pity. "The system shows you are indeed single, Mr. Alex. However," she paused, her eyes meeting mine, "a Miss Clara is listed as married." She hesitated for a moment before continuing. "Her spouse is registered as a gentleman named Leo. Do you know him?" The world around me dissolved into a high-pitched buzz, a sharp, piercing sound that left only a ringing in my ears. Leo. Of course I knew Leo. Everyone who knew us knew the story. Alex and Clara, the childhood sweethearts, inseparable since we were old enough to hold hands. He was the man she had loved her whole life, the one she had promised herself to. And Leo. Leo was the substitute. The stand-in Clara had found to fill the void during the 2 years I was away studying abroad, simply because, as she'd told me, she missed me too much to be alone. I held the damp, fake marriage certificate in my hand, my mind a complete blank as I walked back to my car in a daze. My phone vibrated, and a message from Clara popped up on the screen. "Honey, I just skipped out on a $1 billion deal to buy your favorite roses and shrimp dumplings. I miss you so much. Do you miss me?" I stared at the words, and a laugh, hollow and broken, clawed its way out of my throat. As I laughed, hot tears streamed down my cheeks. For 3 years she had asked me that same question almost every day. A constant reaffirmation of her love. And all this time behind my back, she was legally married to another man. My mind reeled, tumbling through a cascade of memories. I remembered being a small boy, too sick for kindergarten, and how Clara had cried and refused to go to school without me, insisting on staying by my side to take care of me. "I'm scared to be alone without you," she had whispered, her little hand clutching mine. On my 15th birthday, she waited in the pouring rain all night just to be the first person to wish me a happy birthday when I woke up. Then there was our 18th birthday party, the fireworks exploding above us as she threw her arms around my neck. "Alex," she'd said, her eyes shining, "wait until I'm 22. Let's get married then, okay?" I remembered the day I left to study abroad. She clung to me at the airport, her voice trembling. 2 years. I'll give you only 2 years. When the time's up, I'll come and bring you back myself. We video called almost every day. Once, buried under a mountain of coursework, I didn't answer her calls for 3 days. When I finally got back in touch, I found out she'd been hospitalized for depression. Her eyes were red and swollen in the video call. "Baby," she'd cried, "I can't live without you." I had soothed her, promised her I'd be back soon, that she just had to wait a little longer. On the day I returned, I decided to surprise her. But the surprise was on me. I opened her apartment door to find her passionately kissing another boy, a boy whose profile looked unsettlingly like my own. The bouquet of flowers I was holding fell from my numb fingers. I turned and walked away. Clara chased after me in a frenzy, her calls and messages flooding my phone. When I refused to see her, she stood in the rain outside my building for 3 days, her messages a constant stream of explanation. "It's not what you think. You wouldn't let me visit you. And I missed you so much I found a substitute. I swear it was just hugging and kissing, nothing more. Alex, I was wrong. But I really, truly love you like crazy." She stood in the rain for 3 days and nights until she collapsed with pneumonia. It was only then, seeing her so frail in the hospital, that I softened and forgave her. Afterward, she treated me with the same overwhelming affection as always, and things seemed to go back to normal. Until, after our supposed wedding, I noticed her new assistant was Leo, the substitute she swore she had sent away. She explained it away again. His parents were sick. He needed a job in the capital, and he had applied for the position through the proper channels. She couldn't just fire a capable employee who had passed a rigorous selection process, could she? I tolerated it. I endured it. And now I realized my endurance had turned me into a colossal joke. As I drove into our villa district, the scattered pieces of the puzzle clicked into place in my mind. I took a deep breath, steeling myself to go inside, when I heard Clara's voice drifting from the living room. She was talking with a friend. "I just came from the hospital. Leo's fine, just a few bruises." "You can relax and stay home with Alex then," her friend said. Clara leaned back on the couch, her long legs crossed. I heard a soft click as she put out the cigarette in her friend's hand. Her voice was cool. "How many times have I told you? No smoking in my house. Alex doesn't like the smell." All right. You're such a devoted wife," her friend teased. "But I really don't get it. You clearly love Alex so much. Why did you marry Leo back then? Tell me, do you see him as more than just a stand-in?" There was a pause. Then Clara's voice, muffled and low, drifted out. "So what if I do? I used to think he was just a substitute, that once Alex came back I wouldn't need him. But after I sent him away, I started dreaming of him almost every night. I couldn't stand him not being around, so I brought him back as my assistant. I can't live without Alex, but I can't let Leo go either. Alex can be my husband in the open, but Leo has to stay in the shadows. Giving him a legal title as compensation, so what?" Her friend sighed. "Aren't you afraid Alex will find out? You know his temperament. If he ever knows, he won't look back, even if you die in front of him." Clara was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was firm. "Then I'll just make sure he never finds out." Standing outside the door, I felt as if all the blood in my body had turned to ice. I had imagined I would storm in, break down, demand an explanation. But I found I couldn't even open my mouth. So this was what ultimate pain felt like. It was like a chunk of my heart had been gouged out, yet it somehow kept beating. I thought of Clara just this morning, standing on her tiptoes to kiss my forehead. I thought of every time she got drunk and collapsed into my arms, murmuring, "Husband, I can't live without you." I thought of her warming my cold hands against her chest, telling me her heart beat only for me. It was all a lie. On the drive home, a small, foolish part of me had wondered if there was some hidden, justifiable reason for her actions. Now I knew. She had simply fallen for both of us and had never intended to choose. She was afraid I'd find out. Fine. I would let her experience what never looking back truly meant. I turned away from the door and walked back to my car. I did 2 things that night. First, I went online and submitted an application to cancel all my domestic identity documents. Second, I filed to legally change my name. An official I spoke to on a late-night helpline told me all the paperwork would be finalized within 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, no matter how hard she tried, Clara wouldn't be able to find a trace of me. My phone buzzed relentlessly in my bag, a constant barrage of missed calls and messages from her. I didn't check them. I didn't respond. By the time I finally returned to the house, it was dark. Clara was waiting in the living room, her face etched with worry. "Honey, where were you?" She rushed over, her concern looking so genuine it was sickening. "I came back and you weren't here. I waited for hours. I was about to search the whole city for you." I stared at her, an invisible hand squeezing my heart. I remembered being in high school, how she was supposed to be at a national math competition. I had been just an hour late replying to her text, and she had quit the competition midway to come find me, terrified that something had happened. She had loved me that much, but that love, it turned out, wasn't exclusive. My throat felt tight, and breathing was suddenly a conscious effort. "I went out to get something," I said, my voice eerily calm. "I forgot to tell you. Sorry." Clara sighed in relief and wrapped her arms around me. "Why are you apologizing? I'm not mad, just worried." She kissed my cheek softly. "All right, honey. You said you wanted sweet and sour ribs and steamed bass the other day, right? I'll make them for you." With that, she let me go and headed for the kitchen. I stood in the doorway, watching her. She rolled up the cuffs of her silk blouse, her long, elegant fingers skillfully chopping vegetables. Her profile, under the warm, yellow light of the kitchen, looked so gentle. I remembered 3 years ago, when I had just returned from abroad. Irregular eating habits had landed me in the hospital with a severe stomach issue. Clara, a billionaire CEO who had never cooked a meal in her life, spent a month learning from a top chef just for me. Once, an important international video conference coincided with dinner time. She conducted the entire meeting from the kitchen, cooking while negotiating, leaving a boardroom full of executives completely dumbfounded. That's how much she had loved me once. Just then, her phone, which she'd left on the counter, rang. I saw her glance at the screen, and a subtle shift clouded her features. She quickly set down the knife, wiped her hands, and untied her apron. "Honey, something urgent came up at the company. I have to go," she said, her tone perfectly normal. She even stood on her tiptoes to kiss my forehead. "I've made 3 dishes already. You should eat. Don't wait for me." I nodded silently. After she left, I walked to the dining table and looked at the steaming dishes. An ache bloomed in my chest, making it hard to breathe. I had recognized the caller ID. It was Leo. Instead of sitting down to eat, I walked out of the house, called a cab, and followed her. As I expected, she didn't go to the company. She went to the hospital. I found her in the hallway of the VIP ward. The entire floor had been cleared out. A few nervous-looking doctors and nurses stood by a ward door, while the hospital director bowed, apologizing profusely. "Miss Clara, I'm so sorry. We didn't take good care of Mr. Leo, and he slipped in the bathroom. We will definitely assign more staff to ensure this never happens again." Clara's face was grim, her voice like ice. "If there's a next time, you can close this hospital." The director nodded repeatedly. Yes, we understand." I stood at the corner of the hallway, my fingertips digging into my palms. Her friend had said Leo only had some bruises. And here she was, booking an entire floor, ready to shut down a hospital over a minor slip. The ward door opened, revealing Leo leaning weakly against the headboard, looking pale. Clara rushed to his side, taking his hand. "How are you feeling? Does anywhere else hurt?" Leo clasped her hand, looking up at her with the pitiful eyes of a lost puppy. "I'm sorry, I was so careless. First getting hit by a car and now this. I'm making you too busy to be with Alex. What if he misunderstands? It's all my fault." "What nonsense are you talking about?" she scolded gently, her tone incredibly tender. "Focus on getting better. I'll be here with you for the next few days." Leo looked up at her, his eyes watery. "But what about Alex?" "I'll handle it," Clara replied softly. "You don't need to worry." After a beat, she added, "We're married. Isn't it natural for me to be here with you?" My blood ran cold. Married. She said it so easily. Before I could process the blow, I saw her take a bracelet from her own wrist and place it gently on Leo's. It was a string of dark, wooden prayer beads. "And stop calling yourself a jinx," she said. "This bracelet has been blessed. I've worn it for 7 years. Now it's yours. It will keep you safe." With tears of gratitude in his eyes, Leo hugged her. Standing in the shadows of the hallway, my vision blurred. I felt like I was drowning. That bracelet! I had gotten it for her when I was 18. By kneeling every 3 steps and kowtowing every 9, all the way from the base of the mountain to the temple at its summit. It had rained heavily that day. My knees were bleeding, my palms scraped raw, but I finally received the monastery chief's blessing. When I returned, Clara had seen my sorry state, and her eyes had turned red. She pulled me into her arms, her voice trembling. "Alex, are you crazy? Who told you to suffer like this?" I had smiled and slipped the prayer beads onto her wrist. "The abbot said these beads will keep you safe and grant you a long life." She had kissed me then, her lips soft against mine. "I'll wear it forever," she promised. And for 7 years she did. She never took it off. Not for the most formal business galas, not even in our most private moments. But now, she had placed it on another man's wrist with her own hands. My heart felt like it was being slowly carved open with a dull knife. Her forever had only lasted 7 years. I turned and walked away, my steps unsteady. By the time I got home, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from her. "Something came up at the office. I have to go abroad for a few days. Don't be mad. I'll make it up to you when I'm back." I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering, trembling over the keyboard. I typed out a reply. "A few days away on a business trip or with your husband." But in the end, I deleted it, word by word, as tears blurred my vision and fell onto the screen. Then I started to pack. 3 days later, Clara came back. She opened the door with a huge bouquet of roses in one hand and a container of shrimp dumplings in the other, a gentle smile on her face. "Honey, I'm back." I stood silently in the middle of the living room, watching her. She walked over, placed the flowers and food on the table, and reached out to hug me. The work stuff was so hectic, I had no choice but to go, otherwise I would never have left you for so long. Please don't be mad, okay? I shifted slightly, avoiding her embrace. "I'm not mad," I said calmly. "Just take care of your business." She paused, then laughed softly. "It's all done. Now my only job is to cheer you up." She took my hand, her eyes full of anticipation. "I prepared a surprise for you." Before I could respond, she pulled me out to the car. Half an hour later, we stopped in front of a grand music hall. The entire place had been booked just for us. The room was filled with people who murmured as we entered. "Clara really went all out for Alex." "I heard she flew in his favorite orchestra. They're playing just for him all day. The booking fees must have cost a fortune." "That's nothing for her. Everyone knows how much Clara loves to spoil her husband." I stood under the dazzling lights, surrounded by whispers of admiration, facing Clara's gentle, loving smile. But inside, my heart felt like it was soaking in ice water, cold and aching. She gave me grand public romance, but she gave her legal vows to another man. She let me live under the admiring gazes of others, while another man's name was on her marriage license. I sat in a VIP seat as the beautiful music swelled around me. Clara adjusted my scarf. "Are you cold?" she asked softly. I shook my head, but a sharp pain twisted in my stomach, and I frowned instinctively. She noticed immediately. "Is your stomach hurting again?" He nodded slightly. "A little?" She placed her hand on my stomach, her voice full of apology. "Is it bad? Should we go home?" I shook my head again. A few minutes later, an assistant brought some stomach medicine, but Clara's attention remained fixed on me, constantly asking if I was okay. Half an hour later, someone hurried over to our seats. "Miss Clara, I've got the things you asked for." I turned to see Leo. He held a paper bag, his hair slightly damp, his face pale. Clara's expression changed instantly. "You just got out of the hospital. Who told you to come?" Leo bit his lip, his voice raspy. "I was worried Alex was in pain and that you were anxious, so I came myself." He carefully passed the bag to her. "It's raining outside, and I forgot an umbrella, but I kept everything dry." Clara's expression softened. She took the bag and handed it to me. "I'll get you some hot water." I said nothing, took the medicine, and went to the restroom. When I came out, Clara was nowhere to be found. I was about to leave when I heard faint sounds from the adjacent staff restroom. I walked closer and peered through the crack in the door. Clara was pressed against a sink, being kissed deeply by Leo. "Stop," she murmured, half-heartedly pushing him away. "Alex is waiting for me." "But it's been so long since I've seen you, Clara." Leo's voice was low and pleading. "I know in your heart I'm still nothing. Even when I braved the rain to bring medicine for him, I know you only have eyes for Alex." His voice broke with a sob. Clara seemed moved. She held his neck tighter, kissing him again, deeper this time. He let out a soft groan. She chuckled softly, her voice tender. "You get excited so easily." She teased him affectionately, her hand moving downward. What followed were sounds I'll never forget. The rustle of clothing, Leo's repressed breathing, and Clara's low, coaxing voice. "Be good. I know you want me very much." I stood outside, a searing pain engulfing me. I remembered our first kiss, our first night, the way she had looked at me, touched me, as if I were the most precious thing in the world. And now, she was in a public restroom, pleasuring another man. The hypocrisy was suffocating. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. I staggered back, bumping into a decorative vase. "Who's out there?" Clara's sharp voice called. I fled. When she came out, the hallway was empty. Back in our seats, she pulled Leo down beside me. "Honey, it's raining heavily outside. He likes the music too, so I thought I'd have him stay." I just nodded, not exposing her lie. Throughout the rest of the concert, she doted on me, asking if I was cold, adjusting the air conditioning, her left hand always entwined with mine. But I knew that under the cover of the armrest, her right hand was holding Leo's. Tears fell uncontrollably down my cheeks. "What's wrong?" she asked, gently wiping them away. "The music is moving," I said softly. She chuckled. "Why are you always so sensitive?" After the concert, she had several large instruments brought onto the stage. A piano, a cello, a violin, each priceless. "You said you liked these, so I bought them for you," she smiled. "Do you like them?" Before I could speak, Leo reached out and tugged at a decorative cord on a large lighting rig. "What's this?" "Don't pull that," a staff member shouted. But it was too late. There was a loud, mechanical groan from above, and the next second, heavy lighting and audio equipment came crashing down. In a flash, I saw Clara pull Leo aside, shielding him with her own body as they rolled away. I stood rooted to the spot, watching helplessly as the shadow descended upon me. Pain engulfed me, and I fell into a pool of my own blood. My last conscious thought was the sound of Clara frantically shouting my name. But I knew, even then, that as she screamed for me, she was holding someone else. I woke up in a hospital room. The first thing I saw was Leo, his face a mask of guilt. "It's all my fault," he was saying to Clara. "If I hadn't pulled that cord, Alex wouldn't be hurt." Clara wiped his tears. "Really?" she asked, a strange smile on her face. "Yeah, Leo nodded. I made a mistake. I have to own up to it. Clara chuckled softly and hugged him. Then call me honey. Leo froze for a second, then mumbled, honey. Good boy, she ruffled his hair. Since you called me honey, you have to listen to me. I'll handle this. You don't need to worry. Then she saw I was awake. Alex, how are you feeling? She rushed over, concern filling her eyes. I'm so sorry. Things were so chaotic. I mistook someone else for you. I closed my eyes, not calling out her lie. Where's Leo? I asked softly. Her face changed. It wasn't his fault, Alex. I punished him sternly. I recalled her making him call her honey. Pretty harsh punishment, I thought. I didn't question her. I didn't accuse her. I just said, I'm hungry. Her unease was palpable. I was too calm like a deep, still pond. She suppressed it and nodded. All right, hubby. I'll get you something to eat. As the door closed, I let the tears fall. For Clara, I had neither love nor hate left. There was only a vast, cold emptiness. A week later, she threw a lavish party to celebrate my recovery. In the middle of it, she pulled me aside. Are you still mad? I swear I really mistook someone for you. What can I do to make you forgive me? I looked at her and smiled. Okay, fire Leo. Her expression flickered. His family is struggling. His parents are sick. Why be so extreme? She'd do anything, except when it came to him. Just then, her phone rang. It was Leo. Clara, help me! He shouted. His voice filled with panic, and someone hired thugs to kill me? The call disconnected. Clara turned to me, her eyes shifting from urgency to suspicion, then to suppressed anger. Alex, where is he? My heart sank. She didn't trust me. You suspect me? I whispered. It's not suspicion, she said, rubbing her forehead. It's just a life and death situation. And you think it was me? My voice shook. After a moment of silence, she grabbed my wrist, her grip like iron. I said I already punished him. I don't have time for this nonsense. Tell me where he is. I don't know, I repeated, my voice steady despite the pain in my wrist. It's like I never knew you, she hissed, letting go of me with a fierce shove. I staggered back, my lower back slamming into the sharp corner of a table. I fell, my forehead hitting the edge of a metal decoration. Blood gushed out, and guests screamed. But Clara didn't look back. She was already on the phone, barking orders, trying to find her precious Leo. I stood up slowly, blood running down my temple. It didn't hurt, not compared to the gaping wound in my heart. She had once cared so much for me. Now her entire world revolved around him. People rushed to help me, but I pushed them away and walked out of the hall alone. As I stepped outside, a plaque that read, "Clara loves Alex forever," crashed to the ground, shattering into 1,000 pieces. I looked at the wreckage and started to laugh, tears mixing with the blood on my face. You're forever, Clara. It's so short. I went home alone, treated my wound, and began to pack. The watches, the rings, the handwritten cards, the photo albums, everything related to her went into boxes and was thrown into the dumpster below. As I stood under a streetlight, a sack was suddenly pulled over my head. Before I could struggle, a sharp pain exploded at the back of my neck, and everything went dark. I awoke in the sack, my hands tied, my mouth gagged. Through a small tear, I saw them. Clara and Leo, sitting on a couch like royalty, surrounded by bodyguards. "We caught him, Miss Clara," a bodyguard reported. "This is the thug leader Alex sent to mess with Mr. Leo." It was a setup. Henry had faked the attack, then had someone kidnap me and present me as the culprit. I struggled, trying to call her name, but only muffled whimpers escaped. "He dared to hurt you," I heard Clara say to Leo, her voice dripping with venom. "I'll show him a fate worse than death." The next thing I knew, I was dragged to the edge of a high diving platform overlooking a deep swimming pool. Still in the sack, I was shoved off the edge. Icy water rushed in, the impact knocking the wind out of me. It flooded my nose and mouth, my lungs burning as if pierced by needles. Just as I was about to black out, I was pulled violently out of the water, coughing up a mixture of water and blood. Before I could catch my breath, I was pushed down again. Once, twice, 3 times. Over and over. Torture. When I was pulled up for what felt like the 100th time, Clara walked over, an iron rod in her hand. "You mess with me, you pay the price." The first blow landed on my back. Pain exploded from my spine, spreading through my entire body. She hit me again and again, each blow relentless. I could feel warm blood trickling from my lips. 99 times. She counted. By the end, I was numb, my body shredded. When the last blow landed, I collapsed. She then lifted her leather shoe and brought it down hard on my exposed right hand. I heard the sickening crack of bones. Finally satisfied, she turned and fell into Leo's arms. "It's over now," she cooed. "No one will bother you anymore." She waved a hand at the bodyguard. "Dump him back." With every ounce of strength I had left, I rasped her name. "Clara." She paused for a fraction of a second, but then Leo feigned a dizzy spell, and she immediately refocused on him, hurrying away without a second glance. Watching her leave, I began to laugh, tears and blood rolling down my face. If only she had turned around, she would have seen that the man she once cherished more than life itself was the one she had just beaten half to death. I came to on the floor of the villa, wet, bruised, and broken. My phone vibrated in my pocket. The first message was from her. "Honey, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have snapped at you. I'm at the hospital with Leo for a few days. Won't be back until he's better." I almost laughed. She had tortured me, yet she could still call me hubby, as if nothing happened. The second message was from the records office. "Your request for identity cancellation and name change has been approved, effective immediately." Finally. I forced myself to stand, changed into clean clothes, and grabbed the suitcase I'd packed long ago. I left 2 things on the coffee table: the couple's necklace she'd given me, the one with the hidden mini-camera, and the stack of love letters she'd written to me as a teenager. Then I walked out, tossed my phone in the trash, and never looked back. From now on, the Alex who shed tears for Clara was gone. On the plane, a sharp pain exploded in my ribs and my vision vanished. The woman sitting next to me, a doctor named Maya, noticed my cold sweat. Suddenly, a sharper pain shot up from my abdomen, and my vision darkened completely. Warm liquid dripped from my nose. I was bleeding internally. "Flight attendant, we need medical help here," Maya shouted. Through a blurry haze, I felt hands undoing my collar, lifting me. Before I lost consciousness, I heard my own hoarse laughter. The rib Clara had broken was now piercing my lung. She had always sworn to protect me, but in the end, she was the one who hurt me the most. I grabbed Maya's wrist, my eyes locking with hers. "No hospital," I wheezed, blood frothing at my lips. I awoke to the smell of disinfectant in a quiet, sunlit room. Maya was there. "You suffered internal bleeding on the plane," she said calmly. "I administered emergency care. This is my private retreat. It's very safe." She handed me a cup of warm water. "My name is Maya." My voice was a raw whisper. "Elle," I said. "My name is Elle." I spent weeks at the retreat, slowly healing. Maya never pried, but she saw the scars, the way I flinched at loud noises. One afternoon, I overheard her struggling with a business deal. On impulse, I walked into her conference room and pointed out a flaw in her opponent's financial reports. The next day, she slid a contract in front of me. Strategic advisor. I have a gut feeling you're trustworthy. My new life had begun. Slowly, I started to tell her everything. I showed her the photos, the medical reports, the coffee-stained fake marriage certificate. She looked at the evidence of what Clara had done, her face hardening with a cool resolve. "Revenge won't bring real peace," she said softly, pulling me into a hug as I finally broke down. "But," she added, her chin resting on my shoulder, "I just don't want to see you consumed by hate. If this is what you need to do to start fresh, I'll help you." While I was recovering, Clara was descending into her own hell. She finally found the necklace, watched the footage from the hidden camera, and saw the truth. She saw me in the sack. She saw Leo's triumphant smile. She saw her own hands wielding the iron rod. The confrontation was brutal. She had Leo committed to a psychiatric ward for life, his reputation ruined, his family's assets frozen. She then began a frantic, globe-spanning search for me, but it was like I had vanished from the face of the earth. 3 months later, our paths crossed. At a business gala in Paris, I was the rising star, the mysterious founder of Lee Capital. Clara saw me across the crowded room. She tried to approach, but I turned away, brushing past her without a flicker of recognition. The game had begun. Over the next few months, I systematically dismantled her empire. I used her former CFO, a greedy man named Bob, as a pawn, manipulating the market, shorting V Group stock, and watching as her world crumbled. She knew it was me. She waited outside my office building for 3 days, but I refused to see her. Finally, she forced her way in. "I know it's you, Alex," she rasped, her eyes red and tired. I didn't deny it. I played the video of my torture on the large screen in my office. She watched, her face turning ghostly pale. And then she fell to her knees. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "What will it take for you to forgive me?" I slid a contract across the desk. "Sign it, all your shares. I want you to personally deliver V Group into my hands and then watch me destroy it." She signed. I became the new head of her company, and she became a CEO in name only, forced to sign daily reports on the most menial of tasks. At a company-wide meeting, I made her stand and read aloud the love letters she had written to me when we were 18. It was cruel. It was my revenge. It was Maya who pulled me back from the brink. She slammed Clara's medical report on my desk. Severe depression, gastric bleeding. "Take a look," she said, her voice like ice. "When did you become this? Taking everything wasn't enough? Does she have to die before you're satisfied? The way you are now. Isn't that what she did to you?" The words hit me like a physical blow. She was right. My quest for vengeance had turned me into a monster, just like the one I was trying to destroy. Just as I was grappling with this realization, a crisis hit. Bob, the CFO I had used, teamed up with V Group's old guard to launch a hostile takeover of my own company. They were using Clara's old networks, tactics I couldn't counter alone. I needed her. I found her in her empty office, a shadow of her former self. "I need your help," I said without preamble. She looked at me for a long time, then gave a soft, tired laugh. "All right." She had anticipated this, preparing a detailed file on the old guard's weaknesses. We worked together, a strange, silent truce between us. We won. In the aftermath, she asked the question that hung in the air between us. "Is there really no chance for us at all?" I thought of her turning her back on me at the concert, of her leaving me for dead by the pool. "No," I said, my voice firm. "Not even a little." A few days later, my assistant showed me a video. It was Clara, kneeling on the stone steps of the temple where I had once prayed for her, bowing every 3 steps, her forehead bleeding onto the stones. "Delete it," I said, my voice flat. "I don't need updates on her anymore." I signed a document transferring all of V Group's remaining assets back to her. On a sticky note, I wrote 2 words: "We're even." The final, desperate act came on a rainy night. I was in the lounge of a new medical research center Maya had founded, one dedicated to trauma recovery. A blue laser light appeared on the opposite building, the old V Group headquarters. It spelled out a message on the wall. "Alex, the kite's stuck in the tree." Our secret code from when we were 16. It was Clara on the rooftop. I stared for a moment, then drew the curtains, plunging the room into darkness. I called Maya. "Come to the lounge and bring the ring." Our wedding was at an observatory high in the Alps, quiet and perfect. As we exchanged rings, a gift arrived. It was the string of prayer beads, the ones I had suffered to get for her, the ones she had given to Leo. A card was attached. "This time I wish you peace." I looked at the beads, then at Maya, who was smiling at me, her eyes reflecting the starlight. I wrapped the beads around her bouquet. "Makes for a good cautionary tale," I said, and kissed her. The news of our wedding was broadcast worldwide. In his padded cell, Leo smashed the TV, screaming that he was her real husband. Clara, I heard later, was in a remote corner of Africa, working as a volunteer doctor, finding a different kind of penance. As fireworks burst over the New York skyline, celebrating my company's successful IPO, Maya wrapped her arms around me. "How does it feel?" she whispered. I turned and kissed her, pulling her close. The past was a ghost, a story that was finally over. The hate was gone, replaced by a quiet, steady warmth. For the first time in a very long time, I was at peace. "It feels," I said, smiling against her lips, "like a new beginning."